Oh Lord, we need your word.
I want to read from Galatians, 2 Corinthians, and John. Follow along on the screen. I'm going to read from the Holman Christian Standard Bible. The Galatian text, it says, "From now on, let no one cause me trouble, because I bear on my body scars for the cause of Jesus." 2 Corinthians text, beginning at there in chapter 12, verse 7 through 9. "Especially because of the extraordinary revelations, therefore, so I would not exalt myself, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to torment me, so I would not exalt myself. Concerning this, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times to take it away from me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. For power is perfected in weakness. Therefore, I will most gladly boast all the more about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may reside in me." Finally, the book of John, chapter 20, verse 20 through 24. "But one of the 12, Thomas, called Twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples kept telling him, 'We have seen the Lord.' But he said to them, 'If I don't see the mark of the nails in his hands, put my finger into the mark of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will never believe.' After 8 days, his disciples were indoors again, and Thomas was with them, even though the doors were locked. Jesus came and stood among them. He said, 'Peace be unto you.' Then he said to Thomas, 'Put your finger here and observe my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Don't be an unbeliever, but a believer.' Thomas responded to him, 'My Lord and my God.'" And Lord, add a blessing to the reader here, that the faithful doers of his most holy and righteous word. I need to talk to us today about victory scars. Victory scars. Needed to talk about it because there's a bad perception that just because we see scars, we think we're still wounded. But I want to insert that scars are not mere reminders of being wounded or injured. Scars represent healing. In the Bible, scars represent physical, emotional, and spiritual experience. A physical scar, in a whole concept of us understanding this, when you think about a physical scar, there's an area of tissue that replaces the skin after an injury. And it leaves a scar. It's the result, Lord don't have to help me, of the biological process of wound repair. Physical scars are a natural part of the body's healing process. Therefore, in the spiritual aspect, we have what I like to call victory scars. Victory scars are the spiritual proof of the process of being spiritually healed after surviving the adversities that come from being spiritually wounded in life. In other words, victory scars are proof that although we've been wounded from trials and tribulations, we endured. We healed. And we survived. Let me announce that we have victory scars to prove that we endured the agony caused by a wound. Agony describes extreme physical and mental suffering. In Galatians 6 and 17, the Apostle Paul says, "From now on, let no one cause me trouble, because I bear on my body scars for the cause of Jesus." So Paul here is responding to being challenged by the church there in Galatia about his apostolic authority, but he's also being challenged, church, about his endurance as a servant of Jesus Christ. So Paul basically tells them, stop challenging my apostolic authority and stop challenging my dedicated service to Jesus, because I wear the scars of my dedication. It was customary at that time for a slave master to mark his slave with a personalized brand to symbolize ownership. So the imagery put forth by Paul is intended to inform us that no matter what you think about me, I belong to Jesus Christ. And can nothing, watch this, stop my dedicated service. Y'all gonna have to catch up with me here in just a minute. Paul had been in prison many times. He had been beaten many times. He had been close to death many times. He was shipwrecked 3 times. He was stoned. He was faced with continual threats from the Jews, the Gentiles, false believers, and false prophets. He faced danger in the city. He faced danger in the country. He faced danger at sea. He labored and toiled for hours at a time without much sleep. He had been hungry. He had been gone without food. He had been cold. He didn't have enough food to eat. He had been bitten by a snake. All the while he was dealing every day with the pressure of his concern for the church. So Paul wanted the people to know that despite every issue he faced, he endured for the sake of his service to Jesus Christ. Paul said, I got the scars to prove that I've endured. So Paul shows us that ministry can still come out of misery. Our service to God is empowered by a pure testimony of triumph. So when you see folks serve well, it's not because they haven't been through some tough stuff. It's not because they're going through. They're not rather going through some tough stuff. Some folks just serve well despite what they're going through. Oh, they understand that it doesn't matter what I go through. I got wounds and I got agony. I got stuff going on in my life, but because I'm sold out to Jesus. Everybody in here got to be able to testify that there's some things that I do, and I do it and I'm in agony. There's some things that I do, and I do it because I love God. It ain't about what you think. It ain't about what you say. It ain't about how you feel about me, because my service is not unto man. My service is unto God. But is there anybody listening to me who got victory scars to prove that while you're here today, it ain't because you ain't been through nothing, but it's because you ain't gonna let nothing threaten your dedicated service. You got problems, but you keep on serving. You got pain and sickness, but you keep on serving. You got marital problems, but you keep on serving. You got financial issues, but you keep on serving. You got family drama, but you keep on serving. You got church drama, but you keep on serving. You got some work drama, but you keep on serving. You wear victory scars to show your endurance, to prove that you refuse to let the agony of your suffering stop you from your dedicated service to Jesus Christ. You ain't got to like me. I serve because God loves me. You wear victory scars that prove that even though your road got rough, you decided that I'm going to be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, because my labor is not in vain. See, you think people serve and ain't got no scars. Think people serve and ain't been through nothing. But Paul said, y'all got to stop challenging my endurance. I got the scars to prove that I've been through some stuff, but I still serve God. I want to shift our attention to this next area, because not only do we have victory scars to prove we endured the agony caused by a wound, we also wear victory scars to prove that we healed from the anguish caused by a wound. Anguish describes severe emotional or physical pain. In 2 Corinthians, Paul is dealing with what he called a metaphorical thorn in his flesh. He was dealing with physical and emotional pain that he asked the Lord, watch this, 3 times to remove. I know. Y'all not going to like this.
Teach us.
Because you've been asking the Lord
Teach us, Bishop.
to move some stuff. Been asking the Lord to fix some stuff. You've been asking the Lord, why is this happening to me?
Come on, teach today, Bishop.
You prayed, and then the only answer God gave you is that his grace is sufficient. My loved one died, but your grace is sufficient. My child in prison, but your grace is sufficient. You see, what we have to understand is that the grace of God is what healed Paul's anger.
Come on, talk your talk, Bishop.
Even though he had the thorn, he had the grace.
Yeah.
And so, angel, if you compare your thorn with God's grace,
Come on, talk your talk, Bishop.
you'll soon discover, King, that God's grace
Yes, it is.
is sufficient enough to carry you with the thorn.
Yeah.
All right, here I come. I'm walking slowly, but I'm coming. You see, the problem many of us got is that we won't allow room for grace healing.
All right.
Grace healing is the process of allowing spiritual, emotional, and physical restoration through divine favor and compassion. So with the thorn, God says, I'll show you compassion. My compassion is more sufficient than your thorn. So no matter what your wound is, the fact that I gave you grace should help you understand that it doesn't matter what your problem is, my grace is still sufficient. So the grace of God helps us navigate through our anguish while God heals us from that anguish. We cannot heal without grace. Grace reminds us that God is compassionate concerning our struggle. When nobody else cares, God's grace shows us that he cares. So it doesn't matter whether you support me or not.
Come on now.
Grace. Doesn't matter whether people call and check on you or not. Grace. Sometimes we serve too wounded.
Ooh, teach now.
And when we haven't allowed grace to be sufficient, we hurtful. Nobody can rush you to heal. But if you're not ready to serve because you unhealed, then don't you rush to serve.
Come on, teach now.
Because when you serve without compassion, you hurtful.
Come on, Bishop.
You ever heard it said that
Hurtful.
hurtful? That's because hurt folk have not healed from the anguish caused by their wounds. And therefore, they don't know how to show compassion to others. You can't heal if you can't forgive. You can't heal if you're going to hold grudge.
Come on, teach, Bishop.
You can't heal if you decide to hold on to anger.
Teach now. Teach now.
You can't serve wounded and affect other people because you can't handle your wound. So you can't heal if you're not going to give yourself time to heal. A lot of times we think we can't heal because it's just too hard to get over what we're going through. But the reason why most of us can't heal is because we won't forgive ourselves. And we can't forgive others.
Teach now.
The real problem with most people is not the problem. It's the guilt concerning the problem.
Teach now. Teach now.
And when we're holding on to guilt, we have to push that blame off to somebody else. Instead of dealing in the truth of ourselves and allowing the grace of God to heal our wounds. And so because we have not allowed room for grace healing, we don't know how to show compassion to nobody else. We can't fail to realize that somebody else go through too. You ain't the only one that need compassion. This ain't about you. We can support more than one person at the same time. I got enough compassion to have some for you and you.
Come on, teach Bishop.
I don't have to choose to just lock my compassion up for just one person.
Teach us. Teach us.
Grace says that no matter who it is, God can heal the wound if you understand that it's Him doing the healing and you can't heal yourself based on what you think you want to accomplish.
Come on, teach us.
And here's the problem. Somebody else lost loved ones too. You ain't the only one who lost loved ones. You ain't the only one who got children in jail. Y'all ain't saying nothing. You ain't the only one that got family problems. You ain't the only one who got a crazy child. You ain't the only one who got sickly children. Your family ain't the only one dealing with family members with cancer. We think we the Lone Ranger. We the only one who got deep hurt. It's some other folks. Got some deep hurt too.
Teach us, Bishop.
So I can't be hurt because my hurt greater than your hurt. Who give the measurements? Please tell me who gives the measurements on how a person can hurt. My hurt worse because I lost somebody. So my hurt is worse. No, ain't no measurement on hurt. However I hurt, that's just the way I hurt. I may not have lost as much as you, but what I lost makes me hurt as much as you. But grace is the thing that heals the anguish. Grace has got to be ministered to yourself. That's how come you can't show it to nobody. Because you have not received grace. You have not understood grace. The only reason why some of us are halfway in our right mind now is not because we ain't got deep hurt. It's just because God's grace. And all of us acted out how we feel.
Come on now.
Y'all ain't saying nothing. I want everybody here, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to act how you really feel. No, I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I changed my mind. I take that back. God, don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. No, don't let them do it. God, please keep me in your grace. Please keep me in your grace, because if I act out how I really feel all the time, I couldn't show that I'm a servant of God. Victory scars. These scars I got ain't because I ain't got no deep wound. These scars I got ain't because I ain't never lost nobody. These scars I got ain't because I ain't never went through nothing hard. But these scars are because I'm healing. And here's the issue that I want to show you. You got to be careful, Sister Calhoun, when wounds start to heal, because they'll itch. And if you're not careful, AJ, you'll start scratching at that itch. And you'll pull a scab off that old wound, and that wound will open back up again. That's how come you got to have the grace of God as an ointment to soothe that itch, so that when you start itching, Sister Calhoun, you got the grace of God to rub on that itch, so you won't so you won't do nobody wrong this week. Is there anybody who glad you got grace anointing, that you got some grace ointment? Somebody throw your hand up and say, your grace is sufficient. Because when it's itching, that only means that it's healing. And so you got to be careful not to scratch it, Aisha. Just let the grace soothe it. Is there anybody who know that I got a scar? And every now and then I think about my mama, Auntie Lula, and that scar started itching lately. But instead of me getting angry, I say, God, your grace is sufficient. I remember how folks did me wrong. I see some folks in this church right now still owe me $749.14. But when that itch starts to come, y'all don't know nothing about that beat. Y'all ever walk in the room with somebody week after week, and they know they owe you, and they walk past you like they don't owe you nothing? Y'all don't like me. But y'all act like everything is always hunky-dory. The only reason why I ain't spazzed out is because God's grace is sufficient. And I want the person who owed me not to get offended. As a matter of fact, keep it. That's what God just told me. Keep it. Because there ain't this now meal. Life's still good. Because God's grace is sufficient. I got a scar on this finger. Julius, this finger was broke. And it was touching the back of my wrist. That's how broke it was. But every time I look at this scar, what I realize is that my finger don't go back there no more.
Teach us, Bishop.
Because the bone healed.
Teach us. Teach us.
There's a scar there, but it won't go back there no more. Some of y'all gonna catch up with me. I see the scar, but the finger won't go back there no more. So that means, Michelle, that up under the scar, the bone in the tissue done healed enough to stop the effect of the wound from pushing it back to where it'll be damaged and unusable. And so I'm preaching to somebody now to let you know that you got a victory scar somewhere where you've been wounded, and it's not for you to go back to where you were. It's just to remind you that you are healing and that you are still usable to God and that He still got purpose for you. But you can't heal if you don't let God's grace be sufficient. You got to let God's grace be sufficient. Is there anybody in here who can say, I got some memories, but I'm not going to let it affect me because I'd rather walk in my healing than in my despair? I want to thank God today that instead of keeping this finger where it was always damaged, that He healed it to the point where at least I can see the victory scar and not worry about not being able to use my finger. I want to thank God for somebody who's been through some tough stuff and it left you wounded, Victor. But because God healed the wound, God can still use you, and you ain't got to worry about ever going back. Yeah. Finally here. Auntie Lula, you got a victory scar. You were in a coma. We didn't know if you were going to live or die. We were, me, Auntie Sam, Lady, Aisha, Dre, our family. Y'all didn't even know we were going through it. Because every Sunday, we just walked up in here. But every night we cried. Trying to figure out, God, what is going on right here? Praying. Then they call. to learn how to talk again. She's going to have to learn how to walk again. And now fast forward to today.
Come on, Bishop! Come on, Bishop!
She still got the memory of being in the court. Still got the memory of having to learn how to talk again. Still got the memory of having to learn how to walk again. But every step she takes is a victory scar to remind her that although those legs have to get reworked, you can still walk. Look at her. Although you have to learn all over again, you can still walk. So you don't let the wound destroy you. You look at the scar and say, God, I thank you that I'm healed. I've been down, but I'm up against somebody else. To give God praise because you know you were wounded. But ain't you glad that God healed? You see, man, I ain't trying to start, man. I'm trying to make a point. We got some victory scars. Y'all don't even realize how healed you are. You don't even realize how blessed you are. Because all you focused on is the wound. Talking about this, talking about that. Is there anything good that happened? Is there anything good that happened? Has God been good anywhere during the process of healing your wound? We have victory scars, and I wanted to prove that we y'all, this is the last part. I'm really trying to hurry up. And we endure the agony caused by the wound, and then we heal from the anguish caused by the wound. But here is what I've been trying to get you. It took me a long time. But we also survived the atrocities caused by the wound. Atrocity describes horrifyingly wicked cruelty. When folks treat you like you ain't nothing. Jesus had the most horrifying and wicked cruelty that's known to man. He ain't done nothing to me. He never mistreated nobody. Ain't never made nobody mad. From the standpoint of him righteousness, his righteousness. Folk got mad at him because he was righteous. Folk get mad at you for your righteousness.
Come on, teach, Bishop.
You ain't done nothing to them.
Teach now.
They're mad because you're righteous.
Teach now.
I ain't done nothing to nobody.
Teach, Bishop.
But had to experience
Teach, Bishop.
this horrifyingly wicked cruelty. Not just from folk he didn't think loved him, but from folks who was on his team. From folks who were walking close to him.
Come on, teach us, Bishop.
Who should have known his heart.
That's right.
Treated him bad.
That's right.
You've been walking with me. As long as I'm on your side, you cool with me. But when I do righteousness, you upset with me. As if you don't know my character.
Teach now.
Horrifyingly wicked cruelty. Ain't done nothing but tried to help everybody. Ain't done nothing but tried to support everybody. But they nailed him to a cross. They took a whip and just beat him. Crown of 72 thorns, they just pressed that on his head. Speared him in the side. Ain't done nothing what he said? Father, forgive them. Because they even don't know what they do. 6 hours. He took them down. Put them in a borrowed tomb. Early. On the third day morning.
Yes, sir.
He got up. But now John says that when he got up, he wanted to talk to his disciples. He went to see him, and Thomas wasn't there. And so after he visited with them, they ran and they told Thomas, Thomas, we have seen the risen Lord. You know what Thomas said? Unless I not just see him, but unless I can see the nail print, and if I can touch the nail print, then I got to see the scar in his side. Not just see it, but I got to touch it. Only then will I believe. Y'all know folks don't believe in you until they see it for themselves. They got to always have proof about your comeback.
Come on, Bishop.
They got to always have proof. Don't nobody believe. You know, AT out of that coming. I ain't gonna believe it till I see it.
There she go.
Now, AT learning how to walk again. I ain't gonna believe it
There she go.
until I
There she go.
see it. See, the problem with us is we can't shout off truth. We got to always have proof.
Come on, teacher. Bishop.
We got to always have. But I came with good news that God gave you proof. Because the scars, listen to the text. When Jesus walked through, watch this, walked through the door that was locked. So hey Jay, he ain't in flesh no more. He in spiritual form, dressed in the body of flesh. He's spirit, but still wearing his flesh. But this time, he ain't weak in the flesh. He's strong in spirit. But he's still wrapped up in flesh. So because I'm spirit, I can walk through walls. But because I'm flesh, I still got a scar. Y'all catch me in a minute. So because he's spirit, he walked through the wall. They locked themselves in there. They scared. They hide. He walked through the wall. Thomas was in the room. First thing Jesus did when he walked in there is called out Thomas. Thomas! See? Touch my nail scar hand. See? Put your hands there in my side where they speared me. And then Jesus, here's what he said to him. He said, stop doubting, Thomas, and start believing. Now watch this. Here comes the part in the text that you got to recognize. What did Thomas say after he touched the nail-scarred hands? After he was able to put his hands in the scar where Jesus was pierced in the side. What did he say? He said, my Lord and my God. Why did he say it? He said it because he recognized that this was indeed Jesus standing there in victory after being crucified, after seeing him stabbed in the side, after seeing him nailed in his hand, after seeing him buried in a grave. Thomas had to admit, this is the same Jesus. It looked like him in the flesh, but his spirit is different. Also, I want y'all to know, they may mark me, they may condemn me, they may characterize me as all kinds of stuff, but I'm walking in spirit. Y'all see my flesh, but I'm walking in the spirit. I got scars that prove I've been beat down, but I'm walking in the spirit. And then somebody else who ought to say, I've been through some bounce back. They thought you weren't going to be nothing. But I believe about 5 of you ought to be able to say that it is me. Look at me. I'm the same one that they talked about. I'm the same one that folks been lying on. But I got scars, not because I want to remind myself that I've been in the grave, but these scars remind me that they nailed my hands, but I'm still free. That they nailed my feet, but I'm still free. That they pierced me in the side, but I'm still alive. Is there anybody here who got victory scars to prove that you survived? I'm preaching to some folk that can say, Bishop, you talking about me. Look at my life. I've been broke before, but I survived. I didn't have much money, but I survived. Bishop, our family was in a real bad shape, but we survived. Bishop, we've been lied on and mistreated, but look at us, Bishop. We survived. Somebody can say, I had babies out of wedlock. Folks turned their back on me, but I survived. I committed some sin. I did some wrong, and folks didn't want me around, but I survived. I went through some of the hardest times in somebody's life. In the room right now, I know you're sitting here and you've been through some of the roughest times, but ain't you glad that you survived? Folks may not know it, but you ought to be able to lift your own voice and say, I survived. Y'all just don't know how rough it's been, but I survived. Y'all can say what you want. You can talk about me, but I survived. Y'all don't know how rough my nights have been, but I survived. Y'all don't know about all the crying that I've been doing, but I survived. Y'all don't know how rough this marriage was, but I survived. Y'all don't know how scared I was about what was happening with my children, but we survived. Is there anybody in here who would testify that I got scars, that I got victory scars? I survived. After my loved one died, I survived. After my life went through a tragedy, I survived. Somebody shout, I survived. Somebody shout it to me. I'm the same one that was going through rough days. It's me. I'm the same one that had to spend a little time trying to get myself together. I'm the same one that people laughed at, that people criticized. And here I am on the other side of my grave. Here I am on the other side of how y'all tried to treat me. Here I am on the other side of cruelty. I survived. Y'all better take a look around. The folks you see are survivors. I said, take a look around. You look at some survivors. You look at some folk that been through some rough stuff, but they still here. You looking at some folk who ain't had it easy, but they still here. Y'all throw your hands up if you know you're still here. After some rough days, you've been broken, but you're still here. Your mind got bad, but you're still here. Is there anybody? Y'all, I wish I had about 5 folk who would jump up and say, here I survived. Here I survived it. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. Going through it, y'all, but I'm still here. I need about 5 of you who would just give God glory like you know that you got victory scars. That I see the scar God, but I see my victory. I see the scar God, but I see my victory. Out of all I've been through, And give God praise for surviving. I said, give God praise. I said, give God praise for surviving. I said, give God the glory, glory, glory. If you know you survived, if you know you survived, come on, wave your hand.